Hello and welcome to the UK and Ireland Minnesota Vikings Fan Club podcast. I am your co-president and host, Big Deal Rich, and I am joined tonight by four of my fellow club companions: Vice President Nora, nice guy, Mr. John McDonald, show producer and co-president, Mr. Reece Field, Chief Advisor, as I forgot your title last week, sorry, Dan. Chief Advisor, Daz, and Content Guru, TPJ. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen, indeed. This is our post-draft review show. Very exciting. I've almost up to like the hour before the draft, wasn't particularly bothered. I was like, yeah, not so bothered. And then as soon as the lights come down and you hear those horrible Green Bay fans, you sort of start getting into it, don't you? And think, ooh, who is going to go and who's taking who and who's trading for what? All sorts of cool stuff happening. We are just going to focus on the draft in this episode because there is a fair amount to talk about. I'm just going to go around the room. John, you first. What was your initial reaction to the draft? Happy, unhappy?
I'm reasonably happy with what we got for what we had. So, yeah, we were a bit handy.
Happy?
We were handicapped by what we did last year, moving up, and we had fewer picks than anyone in the draft. So, for what we had, I'm reasonably happy.
Reasonably, I don't get the impression you're reasonably happy there, John. Maybe we'll come to that later. Darren, you next.
I'm probably slightly more reasonably happy than John by the sounds of it. I agree with John a little bit. We obviously had some issues with the number of picks we had this year. Was it perfect? No, I think there were some things that we'll come on to that I wasn't so happy about. But overall, I think it was an okay draft.
Armchair GM in. TPJ, you're next. Happy, unhappy?
Yeah, pretty happy. Pretty happy with how things went. I don't think we addressed all of our needs, but we addressed some glaring ones, and the ones that we didn't address, I think, speak to what the front office thinks about the state of our roster as it stands.
Yeah, fair. Good comment. Reece, round us off. Happy, unhappy?
Mostly happy. It was a good draft on one side of the ball. The other side of the ball, I think we just needed more picks, but we know where they all went.
And I'm always happy. So I ended all 3 days pretty happy, and we'll come back onto that later. TPJ, there was some trading, up, down, players, all sorts of stuff. Take us on a play-by-play of what happened on Minnesota draft night. Oh,
goodness. All right, well, where do we start? We start on Thursday night, don't we, with round number 1, and we were talking last week, weren't we, about where the Vikings might go. Do they stick at number 24, or do they trade back? And they did end up sticking at number 24. Did they go defensive back, a safety like we thought, or a running back as Rich thought for some reason? No, they went offensive line, and I think it was an excellent pick. A guy called Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. He was a first-team All-American this season. I think he was first-team All-Conference in the Big Ten for 3 years, and rated by many as the top pure guard in the draft. So playing left guard for most of his college career, he fills a gap that really needed filling on the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm quite excited for this one, but we'll get onto all that sort of stuff. Go on, what happened day 2, day 3, and all that sort of stuff?
So day 2 was an interesting one in that we had pick number 97, but chose to trade back, and we ended up getting a 102nd pick, so it was the last pick in the 3rd round, and pick number 142, we traded with the Houston Texans, and we ended up using that pick on a wide receiver out of Maryland. Not the first time we've done that. If you remember, a certain Stephon Diggs was also a wide receiver out of Maryland. Never heard of him. A little bit later. We picked him up a little bit later in the draft, but we managed to get a guy called Ty Felton with the final pick of the 3rd round, which ended day 2 of the draft.
Ty Felton. We'll get onto individual players, etc. See what happens about that one. Day 3, what happened day 3?
So day 3, we had, I think, 2 picks in the 5th round. We had to wait through the whole 4th round to get to our first pick, and we ended up taking a defensive tackle out of Georgia, a guy by the name of Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. You know how much I love a guy with a double-barreled surname. Really speaks to me for some reason. The guy was on the Georgia team that won the national championship in 2022, and Georgia always a powerhouse in college football. So he looks like a guy to keep an eye on. So with that 142nd pick that I mentioned we got from the Houston Texans, that we traded away to the Seattle Seahawks. We traded back 30 spots to the 172nd pick and used that on our QB2 for 2025, a guy called Sam Howell, who the Vikings apparently have had their eye on for a little while now, bringing to an end the saga of whether we would sign Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco, etc. We've gone Sam Howell, and I think it looks like a project for Kevin O'Connell in the quarterback's room.
I love the way you say a guy called, as if none of us knew who he was. To be fair, I think if you look at Google Trends on day 3 of the draft, Sam Howell peaks at some point in the afternoon because everyone was like, who? But yeah, that sounds good. And then we had a couple of picks to round the day off. Is that right?
Yeah. So we like I say, we got the 172nd pick from the Seahawks and almost immediately traded that away to the Los Angeles Rams. They had a couple of consecutive 6th round picks that they were willing to give us for the 172. So we got numbers 201 and 202 to select Penn State linebacker Kobe King, who, interesting fact about him, his twin brother Kalen was drafted by the Green Bay Packers last year, spent the whole year on their practice squad, but it'll be interesting to see those two go up against each other. And then the very next pick, was used on Pittsburgh tight end Gavin Bartholomew.
So that sort of rounds off our activity over a busy 3-day draft. John, I think I've left you simmering for long enough now. Come on, give us your proper grading and verdict. Did Kwesi cook? Did he cook or did he simmer?
Right, Kwesi was kind of hamstrung by what we done last year. So, if you remember back in primary school, maybe different levels of people in your class were given different tests to test them. You could get 100% on a test, but you'd only get a certain grade because that was the level you were at. I reckon we only got a C- in this because we were hamstrung by the picks that we had.
Are you calling Kwesi Adofo-Mensah a bottom set GM?
I'm
that's
not.
what I heard.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just
Foundation
saying
general manager,
and he didn't. And to be fair, he learned his lesson and he didn't dip into next year's picks at all, which is an amazing feat considering what we came into the draft with. So yeah, he's top of the test. He got 100% on the test, but the test was of a lower level, so I'm giving them a C-. If that makes sense.
I absolutely love that analogy for a couple of reasons. One, because I think it actually rings true. You know, we were hamstrung by the picks available, but only hamstrung by the picks available because we put ourselves in that position. So does Kwesi have to look at himself and say, you know, was the Hockenson trade the right thing to do? You know, a couple of other draft trades that we did last year, was that the right thing to do? But the other reason I love that analogy, John, is because having, for want of a better phrase, arsed around in GCSE maths for 2 years, Mr. Lamb tried to put me in for lower set maths, and I came out with a B. So that's make of that what you will. But Mr. Lamb was incorrect in that situation. Daz, I'm coming to you next. Draft grading, what did you think?
So maybe not as bad as John in the grading. Mainly because I didn't come up with a clever school-based analogy to run against. To be honest, I thought overall, there was a clear approach. I think from the draft. Clearly, they wanted to protect JJ. They wanted to build around that in the trenches and you know add some key depth around in certain areas. But I think there were some missed opportunities. So, which again we'll come on to when we start talking about player on player. But given that, I would give them a B- on this draft. I think.
Healthy B minus.
Yeah.
TPJ, I'm coming to you next. What's your overall draft grading for the Vikings?
Well, we discussed this earlier, and I did think about changing my grade that I mentioned to you guys earlier, but I think I'm going to go with a B plus. I think I'm very happy with the picks that we've made, especially Donovan Jackson. But again, we'll talk about individuals in a minute. And as I said in our at the top of the show, I think not picking a safety is a comment on who we have in the safety room already. We're giving Harrison Smith one last chance to win a ring. He's obviously going to be the incumbent starter along with Josh Metellus. And then you got Theo Jackson and Bubba Bolden also in the safety room. Like, did we really need to draft a safety? It'd be nice to see what would become available, but if they didn't feel like the value was there, I don't blame them for not addressing it. And now I think it's today after 3 p.m. any free agent signings don't affect the compensatory pick formula for next season's draft. So I think maybe we'll see some activity once 3 p.m. Eastern hits, which actually was about half an hour ago.
Yeah, I'm anticipating us dipping our toe back into the free agency market, especially as our QB2 cost us so little in comparative to what we thought he might skim off the cap. But Reece, round us off your end draft grading for the Vikings this year.
B-. Bit like John, bit of a score analogy. I felt Quakesy messed about in his first year, and so he needed to really perform in his second year to pull his grade up. Well, not his third year now, but last year he got rid of so much draft capital. It was going to be difficult. I think the picks that he made, I can't really argue against any of them. I think they were all the right decision. I would have liked to have seen us take a developmental corner, but it was a weird draft because there wasn't really any excitement for me this time. I mean, this is probably the first draft in a long time I've not got up. I even got up to see us draft Garrett Bradbury once. So it was an odd one. I think I just had so much confidence we were going to trade out with the first round, but I know we'll get onto our first rounds or our selection now. Really, after you've given us your grade, Rich. So I'll save my main thoughts for then.
I told you at the top of the show that I was positive. Big fat A for me in terms of our draft grading, and I'll kick us off into the. Does that look like an A? Does that work? I'm going to kick us off into the individual player analysis and overall draft analysis. For me, I think I can remember. My memory's not great, and everyone complains that I make stuff up every now and again. But I'm pretty sure I remember a group of individuals telling me that there was no way on earth that we could replace our offensive line, especially the whole of the interior offensive line in one off season. It wouldn't happen, couldn't happen, shouldn't happen. Unbelievably, so unbelievably risky that we absolutely shouldn't do that. But so I'd sort of, when we were talking last week around who we should take in the first round of the draft, I went for running back because I like a big, splashy skill position at the first pick in the draft because I'm that way inclined. But I think if you're Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and you are sat in a room with a 5-year plan, I think he's looked this year, especially because we had loads of cap space, at recruitment of players across free agency and draft as almost one voice, and thought, well, what do we need to do? Well, what we need to do is protect our new star rookie quarterback, and that's exactly what we've done. So we go into the new season with as best a position as JJ McCarthy could absolutely possibly be in. I genuinely don't think he could have done any better with what was available in free agency and in the drafts. And for me, that's the when you watch Draft Day again, and I'm sure everyone's watched it, at all costs, that's what you do. You get the player that you wanted at all costs. I've read a little bit of, well, we could have traded back
And David Putney.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Constant is everyone's idol. So I hear a little bit of stuff around the expert analysis saying, we could have traded back, potentially picked up who we picked up and got an extra pick. But why risk it? If that's what he wanted and that's who he genuinely believes is going to make the best out of our O-line going into next season, I'm pretty happy with that. But Darren, I apologize, I cut you off.
No. I was just saying that, I don't think we said, because I was one of the people that said it, so I'll lead into it. I think, I don't think it was, it felt like a reach to me, if I'm being honest. He was but clearly, I think Kwesi clearly was going into with a plan around the trenches. So if that was that plan, then yes, he was the third guard. I'm pretty convinced that Houston were probably going to they needed a guard as well. So if we hadn't taken him, so I don't think there was any situation where if that was our guy, trading back and still being able to get him, I don't think that would have worked. But I still don't think that was the best move, because I still find it, yes, we've done it, but I still think it's a risk, completely revamping that interior offensive line behind a first-year QB. It is slightly mitigated, admittedly, by the fact that Fries and Kelly know each other well, but I think we could have possibly traded back. Clearly, there was trades happening around us, so New York was clearly shopping around. So if we had done that trade, we could have still got, one of the top safeties or top cornerbacks off of that, by trading back and picking up some extra picks as well. So I think would have been preferred. I don't think the interior, that particular guard position is the biggest need we have. But it's if that's their plan, I'm happy to go along with their plan, but it's not what I would have done.
Anyone else? Again, I come back to, I think if that's the plan and he's the best person to fill that slot, I think we can't not be happy, can we?
No, I think it was a position that we needed to fill. I think it would have been rolling the dice to try and fit Blake Brandel into this team again. He's not ideal, and now we have a complete offensive line. I think the
word good wrong then. He's not good. I think that was what you're looking for instead of ideal.
He wasn't as bad as we make out, but
no, he wasn't as bad as Ed Ingram or
he definitely
Walter
fell
Rouse,
off though when
Darisaw
went out. He definitely fell off.
But yeah, now
that shows what Darisaw is. I think with Darisaw and would have. I think I'm not saying we didn't want to fix it, but I don't know that this year was the time to fix it. I think that could have been something we could look at next year. It's over time. We don't have to fix every position all in year one or this year. That's my point.
Well, we now have like I say, we have a complete offensive line. We got Darisaw, we got Jackson, we've got Kelly, we've got Fries, and we've got O'Neill. Hopefully Darisaw comes back from injury properly. If not, I mean, there is a possibility that Jackson can slide over to left tackle. He did that for Ohio State for a large portion of last season, but it's a big step up from college to the pros.
I think that's what Schooler's coming for. I think if Darisaw's not ready, got that swing tackle in Schooler from the Bucks. I think he came from. Is that right? From the Bucks?
I think so. Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah, School's more of a right tackle though. I don't think he's necessarily a swing tackle as such. Based on that, I think Walter Rouse is more likely to, I think, step in.
You think? I mean, Reece, you were quite keen on when we picked up Schooler. You were pretty happy about that.
It made sense. At the time, it made sense. But this is a draft pick that makes even more sense because it's not too dissimilar. Because I think with Darisaw coming back from injury as well, we have to be, aware that we might need someone who can also slide out to left tackle. And he's shown that he can do that. Now, great, he didn't grade as highly as a tackle as he did at the guard, but still, went to a national championship as a tackle, playing, as I say, out of position. I really like the pick. I know there's always talk about consensus boards and, it was a reach because we picked him, 15 places higher than the consensus board. But we would have been looking at Tate Ratledge, Marcus Mabau, if we didn't pick him, if we were still wanting to go guard. And it was definitely the right pick to make at the time. I mean, anything that helps your young QB is a good pick, which probably will lead us nicely onto our third round selection as well. As much as I think we all like the safeties in the draft, we've seen, especially with this coaching staff, safeties develop very nicely. Metellus, Bynum, Theo Jackson's well. These are all players that when we've needed something from them, they've all been able to step up. So I've got no issues at all with us not taking a safety in this draft.
I think the other point about not taking a safety is we've made our defensive line so much better. It will instantly make our secondary better because there's not a question of, are we going to reach the quarterback? Do we need to blitz as much as we absolutely have done in the past? Some of the looks that we give on defense, that might change. I just think that we were so reliant on please don't throw the ball over the top of us last season that by making that defensive line better, we instantly take some of the pressure off the secondary. And I think that with the same guys, I think they have a better performance. John, I know you like a wide receiver. The guy that we took with our second pick of the draft, you've also had some strong opinions on Addison. How do you think that the Addison situation played into this pick?
I think it played in reasonably well because we all know the suspension from Addison is coming. Personally, I'm not a fan of the guy we took, where we took him. He's very dropsy. I mean, he's fast as anything, but his hands aren't the greatest. He seems to give me that Powell kind of feeling where you're like, oh, will he catch it when the ball's going his way? He doesn't give me the greatest amount of confidence, but who knows what we can get out of him.
Yeah, I've read lots about this this wide receiver that we took. Everything from he runs great routes to he needs to develop his routes to he's really quick to but he can only run in one direction to he needs to improve his hands. To, everything I've read is contradictory so far. I'm not going to sit here and say that I followed and studied his college career over the years because I absolutely haven't. I suppose I'm putting absolute faith in scouts and Kwesi at this stage, and you'd like to think that Kevin O'Connell can pick out an offensive weapon, so he will have had some input into this draft pick. You would expect. TPJ, are we looking at the next three deep?
I mean, we could be. I mean, we've already strengthened the wide receiver room in free agency by bringing in Rondale Moore. We also still have Jalen Naylor, so it's going to be a quick wide receiver room. Ty Felton presents an option for us in the return game as well. He's a big return guy, and if he gets the ball in his hands in space, he could be the new Cordarrelle Patterson. He's not as big as Cordarrelle, but he could certainly be as effective on kick returns if the scouting reports are to be believed.
Adds a bit of height to our wide receiver room as well. I mean, if you look at Addison and Jefferson, not the tallest of guys, and he's just over 6 foot is Ty. So I quite like quick, and that's another thing. If you've got someone who's over 6 foot who can run a 40 and 4.3, bombing it down the field, how much does that double coverage from Jefferson not come into play anymore? Or how much does that, actually, we've got to cover Addison as well, and hang on a minute, we've just got Hockenson to cover, and hang on a minute, Jones comes out the backfield. I think it gives us options. That's what I really like. It'll stretch the field, which I'm not entirely convinced we've had before.
He's the same height as Jefferson, right?
I didn't know Jefferson was 6'1". Is that a thing?
Yeah, he's 6'1", really? But it's not a bad selection in the sense I think for me, we've also got to take into account the Jalen Naylor situation, which is he's going into his contract year. Even 25 catch a year receivers now demand a big paycheck. Are we willing to pay that, knowing that we've also going to have to pay Addison at some point if we wish to keep him? There's going to be, of course, down the road, hopefully a big paycheck for a quarterback that we're going to have to pay one day. I like Felton in terms of he looks a bit like a Naylor 2.0 to me. He's going to be dangerous in space. He is fast, but he also is someone who's not afraid to get involved in the screen game. And I think that's something we really have to improve as an offense. Our screen game is pretty non-existent. He's someone who's not afraid to, one, break tackles, which we've seen on his tape, but also throw a block. And those are two things that I just didn't really see out of Naylor last year. There were times where it looked like he was worried about the hitting coming and dropped. I mean, we all saw he dropped a wide open walk-in touchdown from Sam Darnold last season. So a guy who's not afraid to be physical, like John said, he can be a bit droppy, but I think those drops are through contact more than anything. I mean, he seems like he's not afraid to be physical, and I like that in a receiver.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions basically got to where they got to last year on the screen. So, I mean, it's probably been a bit harsh, but it's the Lions. So, I don't mind. I don't mind that pick at all. Then, obviously, we went through a couple of trades here and there, acquired ourselves.
No one wants my view on him.
No.
Oh, sorry, Daz. Sorry, mate.
What's your?
Well,
only reason I say that is because based on what I've heard, I'm going to be the controversial one because this was the worst pick of the draft for me.
Wow.
Yeah, he's fast, and as Tom said, yes, he's going to immediately get into the special teams as a gunner and a returner. But as a third round pick, I don't see him contributing on the offense. I don't think he's too raw based on the research I've done so far. As John says, he's a bit handsy in terms of dropping. He tends to tip his routes a lot by giving away his routes. He's not very physical, so he tends to get bounced off his routes a lot. So yeah, I think he's a good player, but he's more of a sixth round. I think for a third round pick, I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's going to, he's compete, as you've always pointed out, he's competing with Naylor. We've got Rondell Moore, who's no slouch. I don't see he's not a shoo-in for wide receiver 3 or 4 for me. And as a third round pick, I think we could have done better. Quasey was saying the other week that, which is the other thing that confused me, was that he was talking about when people were talking about, we don't need to pick for a need because we've done so well in the free agency, so therefore it's going to be best player available. And he kind of said, yeah, best player available, but not where they're capped. So not putting them in places where they can't move. And wide receiver is the epitome of that for us. With Jefferson, Addison, Naylor, all there. It's a very congested. So I'm not quite sure where the breakthrough is. For me, this is a Powell replacement to sit on special teams, but at pick 3, a third round pick, it's a waste of a pick for me.
The Powell Naylor replacement sort of lineup, but Keenan McCardell is a absolute wizard when it comes to developing wide receivers. So I won't discount anything this early.
Yeah, and some of the early stuff that I've read is that actually he had some input into this pick, and if memory serves me correct, he also had some input into the Jefferson pick and the Addison pick. So they worked all right. So hopefully this will serve as well. We can always come back to all of our point of view and see who got egg on the face halfway through the season, or maybe even in the next season. But we'll see what happens there. TPJ, remind us who came through the door third.
That would be Tyrion Ingram Dawkins.
This is a bit of a hype pick. I'm hearing this is potentially, whereas Daz is saying that our third round was potentially overvalued, this is maybe an undervalued pick.
Yeah, this one I really like.
I think he certainly adds depth in the rotation on the defensive line. Obviously, it's a position that we really strengthened in free agency, and he will serve as backup to the guys that we brought in, but also he gives us that potential future.
Yeah, I think I was reading today the two guys that we've signed on the defensive line with 29 and 30 respectively, and Phillips is 29, so that's not a young starting defensive line. But we do have Levi Drake Rodriguez waiting in the wings. I know he was injured for a lot of last year, and I really want him to be good. So I'm going to say his name probably a few times this season. But yeah, I like this Dawkins pick. I think it does give us a bit of depth within that situation.
You only like Levi Drake Rodriguez because you share two initials.
Well, yeah, but he's got great hair as well, TPJ. I think that's very important in football. But yeah, Daz, I think I like him as well. I think from what I understand, he can play nose, can also play a little bit on the edge. So and he creates gaps. That's what I hear, and he stuffs up the run game. So
Yeah,
I'm interested to follow his progress.
Yeah, he looks like he's a classic Flores type player. He's a bit of a Swiss Army knife. He can play. He gets listed as a defensive lineman, not a particular position, because he's played around. He didn't have big numbers at Georgia, but to be fair, he was playing in a very deep stacked line there. So obviously the only way that he could get game time was by playing wherever he could get. So that's helped. So I think he looks good. I've watched a bit of his tape. Got quick, good first step. So yeah, he looks like an exciting player, and a fifth rounder. I think that's a lot of value there. I think.
Yeah, the tape that I saw, he was more a bit of a never give up sort of guy. He takes 2-3 bites at a quarterback to make sure, and even some throw blocking, which I love. If a big man can get his hands in the air and block throws. John, I saw you nodding away whilst we're talking about him. Seems like you've got a decent opinion of the guy.
Yeah, as Daz said, he's a B-Flow guy. Not very often you see B-Flow with a big smile on his face, but when he was talking to him, you saw him with a huge smile on his face, really excited. He sums up exactly what B-Flow wants in our defense, and yeah, I just like him. I see him being kind of like what Dallas Turner was last year. Last year, kind of in and out, kind of sitting there as a replacement, subbed on and subbed out just to give people a bit of a break.
And with the look and the scheme that we play on defense, that's really important to us to make sure that we can give people a bit of a breath and make sure that we've got a bit of rotation on that line whilst not losing any of the impact or losing any of the quality. That's sort of what we've been trying to do. Reece, round us off. Happy with that pick?
Yeah, really happy in terms of it's an exciting prospect of what I think it was the second highest scoring DT in terms of athleticism. I mean, his vertical jump was only a few inches shorter than that of Ty Felton, who we were just talking about, and that's a big guy we're talking about here. A little undersized, really, to be a DT, which is probably why he scored so highly, ranked amongst other defensive tackles. But I quite like it in terms of I think he's like the guy who in the later rounds is most likely to come in and have some sort of impact in the game some way, like a bit like Stephen Weatherly used to for us. Not the highest pick, sort of a bit of a tweener in size, but can definitely be thrown in. Probably this year's Jihad Ward, that sort of thing we're looking at there.
Yeah.
I think that's why Beefo will love him.
Yeah, I like the look of the draft board that we had overall. The one thing I was going to mention about the next two picks, and we can almost talk about them in conjunction with each other, not because they play anywhere near the same position, but more because did anyone see Kwesi's face when Kobe King was left on the board and he could pick him? Did anyone see this?
No.
They were showing some of the backroom replays of how the draft went, and it was like all the pieces of the jigsaw had fallen into place. And he was so happy that he was talking about picking Bartholomew as he was talking about picking King. So you know how his mind is working. You know that that's exactly what he wants to happen, and it happened. And he looked like a very happy individual. So yeah, Kobe King. I think who did we lose? What edge did we lose? Someone went and got paid somewhere. I forget his name.
Pat Jones II.
Pat Jones. So we've got Gink and Grenard. And now we've got Turner and King backing those guys up. I couldn't be happier, really. I think that sounds like a decent room to me. TPJ, do you know much about him?
No, nothing at all.
I think he's an inside linebacker, so I don't think he's covering for Gink or
he'll be more backing up Cashman and Pace.
He's really good side to side. He's really quick. That's what a lot of scouting reports are sort of praising him for. He's very athletic, covers a lot of ground from left to right. His coverage needs work. But if you just send him as a heat-seeking missile in the run game, he's pretty damn awesome. But yeah, in coverage and pass protection is where he's going to have to do his work.
Shows how much reading I've done over the past couple of days. I'm forgetting where these guys are bloody playing. But Reece, you know more college ball than I do. Do you know anything about him?
I think the interesting thing about this, and it's sort of being what we were saying earlier with how happy Kwesi was, on the consensus board, Ingram Dawkins is only one place above Kobe King. So to show how far he fell, big surprise. NFL media are going to love him because they can probably do some great game day side of production with his twin brother being a Packer. We can't choose where we're drafted, so we apologise to his twin brother for his misfortune. I like him. I think a heat-seeking missile is probably the best way to describe him. If he's going to get hands on you, he's going to bring you down. One of the things I loved in seeing in his film was it was an ankle tapping tackle where the guy wasn't there, but whereas some guys would just want to go for the ball, he laid out, he reached out, tapped the ankle, and brought the guy down. And it's something that I think we need to see coached more in the NFL.
Yeah, good point. That sort of rounds us off then with Gavin Bartholomew, the Pittsburgh tight end. John, so we've lost Johnny Munn and we've lost Muse. That's who else we've lost. So we're left with Oliver and we're left with Hawkinson. Hawkinson, I don't know if anyone else is worried. We could probably get onto this on a future episode. I didn't see a lot of production out of him on his comeback year last year. And I don't know how... I know, but I don't know how...
man had a serious knee injury, man. Come on.
I know. If he's had a serious knee injury, then...
I think they rushed him back a little bit in the same way that they rushed Rijkaard back. They maybe rushed Hawkinson back a little bit. But it's difficult to come back from an injury like that.
It's difficult to come back. It's difficult to come back mid-season as well when you've missed pre-season. Yeah.
He had 14 days pre-season. That was it.
He'll be better in 2025.
I hope so.
You heard it here.
John, I know you've got... Stop being so negative, Richard.
Yeah,
I'm not being negative.
All three of us called you out on that.
As a big Kyle Rudolph fan, I know you like the tight end position. I think we obviously needed someone, and Kwesi did before the draft. He addressed it in media interviews. He said that tight end is a position that we're going to look at. I think when you get into round 6, you are we have got day jobs. So, not all of us have been poring over college ball for the past 3 years and trying to understand which tight end we can pick in round 6. But I'm not hearing anything bad about how he plays. I think he'll round off our tight end room pretty well. John, like I say, you're a big tight end fan, big Kyle Rudolph fan. What do you want to see out of him? What impact do you want to see out of our new guy Bartholomew?
I think he's going to be a good tight end 3. I've not seen a lot of him. I'm expecting a lot better from Hawkinson this year because he's actually fit and can be able to actually practice and get pre-season and come off the game. Towards the end of last season, he was showing his old quality because it felt like he was back to normal, but that's not good enough for some people.
All I'm saying is he going to be the tight end that we traded from the Lions? I think it was a big injury at the end of the day. 2 tears in one hit, and it's not just the injury; it's the confidence and all that sort of stuff that comes with it. I want to see him come back. I mean, God, I spent enough money on a throwback Hawkinson jersey when we were in Minnesota.
Let's not talk about the amount of money you've thrown at merchandise for Vikings tight end, shall we? How much of a hole in your wallet has Earthswiss Jr. burned? Or should we leave that for another show so we can get an entire show's worth of content from there?
I've still got a lot of Irv Smith Jr. signed memorabilia that is sitting in the corner under a blanket.
Anyway, Bartholomew. It's definitely a Brian Angelico pick, though, isn't it? Like, it's a receiving tight end. It's not someone who's going to throw big blocks up. It's not like what we had out of Johnny Munn. Johnny Munn was brilliant at getting involved in the run game. I don't think we're going to see that out of Bartholomew, but he's quick. For a tight end, 4.7, I think he ran?
Yeah.
For a tight end, that's pretty good.
I was listening to Locked On, and they I mean, I don't know too much about Bartholomew, but they seem to suggest that the only thing that he was good at was blocking. He's not a great route runner, and if he can't block, then they're not really convinced about what he's going to be able. That's the way he's going to have to prove himself and get himself onto the 53
Well,
roster.
he's not very strong. I mean, I'm just looking at his physical rating at the moment, and his bench press was pretty poor for a tight end. I think he only managed 16 reps.
It's the short arms. It's the they all kept talking about his little arms, which I mean, 6'5", so they can't be that little. They're probably bigger than all of our arms. But I think that was the issue. In the NFL, it seems like edge rushers usually get drafted because of the length of their arms as much as anything else. And so, if you're trying to throw a block and the guy's got his hand in your chest before you can even reach out and grab him, then you're going to struggle. So. I mean, I liked what I saw him on tape as a receiver. I felt like he likes a hurdle is one other thing I've picked up on his tape. But I don't know how I feel about him being a run blocker. I think he's the guy who's going to have to battle the hardest to make the roster of the draft picks.
I don't think he's going to have enough of a chance to get the ball in his hands. I think he's going to be in there on 3 tight end sets. Like Josh Oliver's going to see more of the ball than Gavin Bartholomew.
Yeah.
Oh, all this talk about tiny arms and instantly, I want him to be best now. I
want all of our draft picks to be absolute studs. Like, let's not get it twisted. Like we're not coming into this saying we want our picks to be bad. We're just looking at it with objective eyes.
But he's even got like cultivating nicknames that are Mighty T-Rex tight end. I think we can. I just want him to be good now.
Stop. Look, just because you've got a soft spot for Jordan Pickford and you like guys who've got little arms for the position they play,
and small hands.
Let's just leave it, all right?
World Cup finalist Jordan Pickford, I think.
Still can touch the crossbar.
Is it
official title?
Perhaps talking about Sam Howell before we wrap up.
I was going to say, yeah.
We could touch on it. We could touch on it because it feels like almost like a draft pick.
Well, I was going to say that. I mean, we've been talking about how we've sort of hamstrung ourselves a bit this season, but the picks we gave up to strengthen the roster, and I think the roster has been strengthened with those picks. We gave up a pick to sign Jordan Mason from the 49ers. We gave up picks to.
I think he's going to be great.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a great 1-2 punch with Aaron Jones. We gave up picks this year to sign Dallas Turner last year, and he's going to be a player for us for several years to come. And I think. Yeah, you almost have to look at what you're giving up, but also what you're bringing in exchange for it. And yeah, we traded back 30 spots in the draft over the weekend to get Sam Howell, and then immediately traded away the pick we got for him, as part of that trade. But we also got our QB too.
What was his record at Washington?
3-14.
I think this is a conversation.
But that was at Washington.
Before everyone starts, and I know it's only at Washington and he's second-year rookie.
It was a terrible team and everything like that.
I get it. But
like when Kirk Cousins played for them.
Yeah, and a bit, when Sam Darnold came and played for us. There is a lot that goes into this conversation, and these people have been watching and listening to us for long enough talk about 6th-round tight ends. So I think we can wrap this one up here. But John, just before we go, I think there was some important news announced just before the draft at the weekend. Is that right?
Yep. During the draft, we finally learned when the schedule is going to be released. That's May 14th. Knowing the NFL, they'll drag it out throughout the entire day, slowly releasing it bit by bit. So yeah, May 14th is the day to circle in your calendars.
Day of reckoning, May 14th. I'm all of a sudden, something tells me I'm doing something on May. I'm in London on May 14th. I can come down and see you guys.
I was going to say, you're going to come and say hello.
Yeah, you're going to say, yeah.
I could pick up some paving stones made of gold, take it back and buy a whole village in the north.
You're going to go to the Fanatic store?
They'll treat you like a king.
Go to the Fanatic store and walk out with a Ravens jersey with Jefferson on the back, something ridiculous. But I think that's going to be an exciting day because everyone loves schedule day. I'll say it quietly. There's an outside chance we play in Ireland. Potentially, at least we'll know. We'll know either way.
I think it's a very outside chance.
very outside chance.
I've been
So,
saying to people it's about a 20% chance we play in Ireland.
20% chance.
It's
20%.
Considering-
80-20 with us and Green Bay, I would say.
Considering people have already been emailed saying it's nailed on as Green Bay, like I think it's almost certainly going to be them. But you never know. The NFL might change plans and everything. We will see in,
if it's
in
on the
2
internet,
weeks.
it must be true. We all know that.
If it's online, it's true.
So, yeah,
That's what
that
Abraham
would be-
Lincoln said.
That would be Aaron Rodgers versus Green Bay in Ireland. Not that the Steelers have already signed him, but he's definitely going there, right?
yeah, we know he's definitely, and that would be quite a cool story. Not enough for I don't. Would it be enough to tempt me over the sea to go watch it? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Reece, I can see you sweating in the background because we're almost running out of time, and you've got about a list as long as my arm to go through in terms of how we can find us in the future. Go for it.
I was bragging about how we need to wrap this up because I've got to do the spiel, and I didn't even get to talk about the perfect combination of Nick Mullins and Jameis Winston that we've picked up in the draft. Yes, if you've enjoyed listening to what you've heard, then please do rate the podcast. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Now we are on YouTube. If you can see our faces now, then you are obviously on YouTube. So give us a thumbs up, subscribe. Can't believe I'm actually saying that.
And hit that bell.
Hit that bell.
Subscribe.
Sure. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. And if not, well, if you're not on YouTube, even though it's free and you could, and you still prefer the more traditional method to listen to a podcast in your car, then you can also, review, thumbs up, rate, anything like that on your preferred listening platform.
I really hope people aren't watching YouTube in the car.
No, that would be.
No, I hope so too. Or hope not too, rather. Unless they've got YouTube Premium where they can lock their phone. If that's the case, then good for you. But anyway, all the other stuff. If you like what you've heard and you want to get in touch with the podcast, you can do so by emailing the podcast, ukvikespod@gmail.com, ukvikespod@gmail.com. Facebook, UK and Ireland Minnesota Vikings Fan Club. You can reach out to us on messages through X, on Instagram, or on YouTube at UK Vikings Fans. Blue Sky, UK and IRE Vikes Fans. Discord, there'll always be a link. And I think I've got all the social medias.
Carrier
I think
pigeon.
you've done it all, mate. I feel like a social tart now.
And don't forget to read the website. There's always something
Oh, yes,
interesting
read
to
the website.
there.
There's always something
Yeah.
good on the website. And quizzes too.
There is always something good on the website. Thank you very much.
It might not be new, but it's definitely good.
It's always good. It's
good,
yeah,
and it's there.
exactly. All our long
It's new
form
and it's
content
written.
can be
It's-
found.
It is
just-
content that exists in a language you can read.
Nice. So yeah, we're everywhere. We're here, there, we're everywhere. We're taking over social media. Darren, me and Darren, are not. I mean, I don't get the name Big Deal Rich for no reason. I'm like a
You
Instagram
absolutely
star
got it
now.
for
I
no
think
reason.
Yeah.
I was shared by the Vikings today on Instagram. Yeah.
UK,
Yeah, exactly.
We know.
I saw the
you
back
and
of
the
Reece's
megaphone
head in
with Darren.
Reece's head was in the previous shot.
Look,
Just the back
I
of it,
masked
yeah.
it. I knew that if you stick next to Big Deal Rich, you will be on TV. And so I did. And I was.
Anyway, we're gonna have to start.
I'm sitting
rounding this
next
up
to you
because it's
guys next time.
getting ridiculous. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. I think are we coming back next week? Are we doing undrafted free agents next
But
week?
we have to.
Yeah, and we've
Because
got to talk
otherwise
about
some will
Sam
be
Howell
cut by the
because
time we get
clearly,
around to it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, next week we can talk about Sam Howell because we got cut off there.
Yeah, we should probably talk about that quarterback guy as well. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. One last thing to do is say goodbye, gentlemen.
goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
Bye, gentlemen. Thanks. Cheers. Ta-ra.